Okay guys, welcome back. So for this worksheet, we're going to go ahead and work on the set of examples in terms of finding the areas of the sectors. Now here they have an example that they did for us with the given radius of 6 yards and the central angle here is 50 degrees. They're giving us the formula once again. So the area of a sector is equal to the central angle over 360 times the pi r squared. And this is in general terms what we're going to be doing. Okay, so then you go ahead and multiply all of that straight across, divide that by 360, and then you make sure that the units are also included. Here, because we are working with the area, it's the unit squared. So just make sure that when we are working on these, we are also paying very close attention to the units. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our very first problem. So we have finding the area of each shaded region round to the nearest 2 decimal places. And then instead of using pi, they want us to use 3.14. However, be aware of this. In some other examples, they might be asking you to use to be as accurate as possible. So in our calculator, we'd actually be using the pi button. Okay, so here we're going to go ahead and solve for the number 1. We have, again, the central angle, which is 210. I'm going to do it right here. Actually, you know what, I don't want to be squished. I'm going to use a different sheet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it here. So the very first problem is number 1 right here. And again, I'm using the same formula, so it's central angle, which is 210 over 360 times pi. In this case, it's 3.14. The radius squared, so 12 squared. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and basically plug all of that in. So it's going to be 210 over 360 times 3.14 times 144. Okay, and when I get that, let's see what I get. I get 263.76. 263.76. So that would be my answer for number 1. Oh, and make sure that you are, again, this is a mistake even I made right now, is that you are using the correct units. So here it's inches, it would be squared inches. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to number 2. This one, it is, let me erase this very quickly. Number 2, again, we have, it's 90 over 360 times the pi r squared. So pi, we're going to be using 3.14, the radius squared, which is just 36. Now, right off the bat, I noticed that the numbers that I'm working with are actually very nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So 90 over 360 is 1/4. So it's just 1/4 times 3.14 times 36. And when I put that into my calculator, let's see what I get. and that is about 28.26 since I'm working with yards in this case. Then my answer is squared yards. Okay, so again, just be very careful with your math at this point, and then note that you are using the correct units. Okay, so problem 3, let's do the same thing. So now it is 240 over 360 times 3.14 times the radius squared. In this case, it's 19. I don't know what 19 squared is, so I'm going to have my calculator do that for me. And then I'm noting that my answer is going to be in feet, squared feet. So this I can just cancel off. And then I'm going to just go ahead and plug all of that in. And then I will see what I get. Okay, and that rounded off to the nearest hundreds will be, or sorry, the nearest, yes. Actually, they didn't tell us where to round it, but I'm just going to go keep rounding into the nearest hundreds. That is about 755.69. And then again, it's in squared feet. Okay. Now we are moving on to number 4. So for this one, we have the following. We have 45, so central over 360 times pi radius squared, which is 16 squared. I'm going to do that in my calculator. Let my calculator do that for me, I should say. And I'm going to go ahead and just plug that into my calculator. So a lot of these things are just now plugging in. I want to say the main thing at first is really remembering the formula and just not forgetting any of either the radius squared or the 360. Those could be definitely things little mistakes that would stop you from getting to the correct answer. And so when I let my calculator do that, I get 100.48. I always go back and check to see my units. In this case, it's feet, so it's squared feet. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 5. So number 5, we have 285 over 360 times, again, 3.14 times the radius squared. In this case, it's 64. And then I'm going to go ahead and let my calculator do that for me. And I get about 159.09 or 159.1. And then we are going back and checking the units. In this case, it's inches, so it's inches squared. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do number 6. Okay, so for number 6, again, we're going to do 270 over 360 multiplied by 3.14 multiplied by the radius squared. In this case, it's 14 squared. And do note that we're going to be working with yards. So you go ahead and put that in your calculator. Let's see. And you get about 461.58. Squared yards. Okay, so it seems like I don't know how you feel, but I would actually let you guys go ahead and try these 3 on your own, and then we'd go ahead and discuss them in class. Just because I feel like we've done several, and I would want you guys to try these on your own, and then we'd go over them. And then for the last thing that I wanted to do, there was an exit ticket actually, and so this one said I would actually leave you with this final question, and it's as follows. So a blank of a circle is the region bounded by 2 radii of the circle and their intercepted arc. I'm going to go ahead and leave this here for you guys just so that it's a food for thought, and then we'd go ahead and talk about that for the next day. All right, guys, see you next time.